Okay, I want to welcome you guys back, and we are going to do a little something, hopefully a little more fun today, going back to my previous topic that I was covering a little more frequently a couple months ago. Farrakhan feminism. Yes, it's still sexy and it's still smart, and it still lets you say whatever the fuck you want, whether anybody uh, nobody can guilt you out of anything if you believe in Farrakhan feminism, I guess. So I will show you a couple clips here. Now we'll do the first one, the one that's more directly related to Farrakhan feminism. This is somebody who lost the faith in Farrakhan feminism. It's Keith Ellison, and unfortunately, he fails to realize that true freedom can only come by. Let me just lift my hat here. Look at me. So years ago, he was a true believer in Farrakhan feminism, not so much anymore. Seems like Mr. Representative Ellison, the deputy chair of the DNC, has really lost touch with his roots. And Jake Tapper doesn't even. Jake Tapper, I'll be honest with you, I think he hates working at CNN and wishes he could work for a company where he can actually honestly, do a better job or something. So without further ado, here we go.
Decrying President Trump's bigotry, obviously you used to follow somebody who continually expressed sexist, anti-LGBTQ, and anti-Semitic bigotry, Louis Farrakhan. You have condemned Farrakhan's bigotry.
But I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that, sir. But I'm sorry.
What are you disagreeing with?
That comes up in this context.
Well, you're decrying bigotry, and Louis Farrakhan is a pretty clear bigot.
Right, and I agree that that's true, and I think that I've made myself very...
So this is the second time today. I hope when I go on camera, whenever I go on this YouTube, I don't always look off screen like that, because maybe it's just me. For some reason, it looks like somebody trying to look anywhere for somebody to coach him out of a mess. And this is the second time in the past 24 hours I've seen an interview where somebody does that. The other time was John Mattis, who I've pretty much confirmed is a complete liar. And by the way, I've also written a piece on Keith Ellison. I believe that piece is in the description. I can't tell you where it is, but if not, I'll try to add it. I've written several pieces on how Keith Ellison has basically lied about his association with the Nation of Islam. Look, if you belong to the Nation of Islam, then you have to own it, and it would be much more honest if he would just admit that he used to like Louis Farrakhan, and he gave it up because of his political career. But let's see what he does instead.
Very clear. But look, that's going back to the false equivalency. I don't have any support for what the individual you just mentioned stands for, nor do I agree with Trump's bigotry either. But that
so he doesn't want to even mention Louis Farrakhan's name anymore. What's so hard about saying Louis Farrakhan? I mean, he's a person too. He has some very, very wacky and hateful ideas, but so do a lot of other people like you, Keith Ellison. You also have some hateful ideas. So, just own up to it. Just stop being a fraud. Just admit that you were a friend of Louis Farrakhan. Look, I have friends too that I'm not proud of. And I have friends, honestly, I think I actually saw somebody today, not going to say where, not going to say in what context. I saw somebody I know who is a fugitive from justice, according to some people. And he was always a nice guy to me, so I don't care. And it's a nonviolent crime. But it really makes you think. But I'm not going to pretend, I don't know that guy, and I won't even say his name to other people that know who I'm talking about. But in any case, let's see how he starts to really, really just struggle with the spider web now.
That again, you know, anytime somebody tries to say that something is unfair and bigoted, if you're going to say, well, one time you sort of said something or somebody said you said something, and then so nobody
you were a follower of
bigotry.
You were a follower of Farrakhan, sir.
No, I wasn't. Jake, I'm sorry. That's not true, Jake. But I just want to say to you, if anyone...
Yeah, you were a follower of Farrakhan. I mean, who the fuck are you kidding?
Who raises concerns about bigotry then is put in a position to have to defend themselves, then we never get to talk about bigotry. And I hope that's not what your purpose is, Jake, because you've stood for an equal society. But if you're going to try to put me on the spot and have to explain myself, I didn't pass a Muslim ban. I didn't, right,
no,
Jake?
I didn't.
This is not my piece of my executive order.
You didn't let me ask my question. My question was, the Washington Post fact checker in March gave you 4 Pinocchios for your claim that you have no relationship with him. And I want you to take a listen to Farrakhan talking in an interview about how you only...
I think at this point in the interview, Mr. Ellison, the Congressman Ellison, could use a nice Schweppes black cherry sparkling water.
That's not true.
And Farrakhan, the Washington Post fact checker, did give you 4 Pinocchios
Jake,
about that. That's just true.
Jake, they were wrong. Jake,
they were wrong.
I have not. It's untrue, Jake. I'm sorry, and you know, I'm disappointed that's why you called me on your show today.
I didn't.
You know, because
that's not why I called you on the show.
The Supreme Court,
yes,
Jake, the Supreme Court has ruled that the president's ban on Muslims and Muslim countries, and which started in his campaign rhetoric, that is okay. And now, Jake, you want me to have to justify myself based on facts that were not true and were always political. And so that's a shame, Jake, because we can't have a real conversation.
It is a real conversation.
We can't have a conversation about bigotry because you're going to say, well, what about you? Did you ever in any way and anyone know or see anybody who was ever bigoted, and therefore you have no moral standing to claim to decry bigotry? Jake, that's just not true.
I'm not saying that at all.
And I'm sorry we're having this conversation.
The question I had about Farrakhan was...
You're damn right you're sorry you're having that conversation, because you've been dodging it your entire fucking career. That you're a lying son of a bitch. And, you know, I'll say this. I had a guy on the show who was a fan of Louis Farrakhan, and good for him. My dad used to work with a guy who was a Louis Farrakhan fan. That guy was an asshole, but the person that I talked to was, you know, he was just saying, I agree with a lot of the things that he was saying, that he agrees with a lot of the things that Farrakhan says. I have to agree to disagree. I actually used to live in a building where there was a Nation of Islam temple in there. And the people there pretty much would ignore you and behave like you didn't exist. But, you know, I don't care, because I don't want to be involved in any way with the Nation of Islam. And by the way, you know, I've said in every video where I cover Farrakhan feminism that this issue specifically here is not Louis Farrakhan's fault. You know, he can say all sorts of zany things and you know, the 66 trillion year calendar or whatever the hell he talks about, in the spaceships and the big wheel and whatever, and the Jews and the Mexicans and the Arabs and whatever. He can say whatever he wants, because he's as much of a citizen as me or as you, the audience. As much as he hates me, as much as he hates you. As much as he now hates Keith Ellison for being a weasel, Louis Farrakhan has the right to publicly say whatever crap he wants to say.
Here to talk about the Muslim ban.
I understand that. The question I had for you...
And now you're trying to put me on the spot. It's not fair.
The question I had for you that I've been trying to ask is, Farrakhan said in 2016 you met with him in his hotel suite in Washington, D.C.
That is a false... That did not happen.
It did not happen.
I have made that very clear. That is untrue. I don't know if he's lying or not. I can tell you I was in no such meeting. I was in no such meeting. I've made that clear. You know that, Jake. I have denied this because it's not true. But here I am on your show having to talk about this when the Supreme Court just upheld what the president said was a Muslim ban from the very beginning. And so now I have to defend myself when that's not what the context of this discussion is about at all, Jake.
So I want to say something here. I didn't do yet a video on the Supreme Court. I will probably do one in the course of tomorrow because I've been writing a little something that kind of irons it all out. It'll make it a little more clear for me. But if they were going to be talking about the Supreme Court, rather than, Keith Ellison's dodgy history of lying about stuff that he knows better than anybody. I'm not going to say I agree 100% with Jake Tapper that people who were associated with the Nation of Islam have no right to seek elective office. People have a right to believe in any crap that they want and run for office, and then you can make fun of them and say, hey, don't vote for him. But Keith Ellison is simply, this is an issue of honesty. It's not an issue of morality of beliefs. So if you're a politician, you decide to lie the whole time. What standing do you have to talk about the Supreme Court? By the way, if they were talking about the Supreme Court, what difference would it make? The Supreme Court ruled on this. You can't do anything about it, Keith Ellison. You're just the deputy DNC chair, and your own party is basically the fountain of corruption of America. It's cheating candidates who are, legitimate reformers of the party out. I mean, who the fuck are you to talk to anybody? And I'm not even a progressive, but people should be sick of you.
It was just a question I wanted to ask.
No, I was in no such meeting.
You were okay. Well, Jake, so Farrakhan's lying about it. That's fine. If you're telling me that Farrakhan is
fine. You look.
That's all I wanted to know.
Maybe he is, but I can tell you this, Jake. I can tell you I was not in the.
Maybe he is. How do you? I mean, either he is lying that you were at the meeting, or the meeting did occur and you were there, because it can't be that you were not at the meeting but he didn't lie. It's either one or the other. And don't give me the crap about, oh, Farrakhan is, in his 80s and he's senile or whatever. No. He knows exactly what he's doing. Farrakhan, he may say things that are crazy, but he's a fully sane individual.
A meeting. What somebody's subjective intent was, I will not speculate. I can tell you I was never in any such meeting as that. It's not true.
Okay.
It's simply not true.
I wanted to get you on the record about it, and that's all.
And I wrote about this, months ago, Jake.
In 2017.
And I think you know that.
You wrote about it in the Washington Post.
No, I was not. I was not in any such meeting with that individual. I simply wasn't.
Okay.
And you say,
there he is again. He won't say his name. It's okay to say the name. This is how his balls have shrunk up and retreated into his abdomen. Over Farrakhan. That's how insecure he is.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't in the meeting. I can tell you that.
He says that you and Congressman Carson met with him in the suite when he came to visit. You're saying it's not true. I will take you at your word. I certainly believe you more than I believe Louis Farrakhan. Okay. The Washington Post.
Well, I hope so. But Jake, this is not the first time I've denied this, and I think you know that.
Congressman, it was just a question. You were talking quite a bit about the bigotry, in your view, of President Trump, the bigotry, in your view, of this travel ban. I thought it was worth asking about somebody, a bigot, with whom you used to associate, though you have distanced yourself and condemned him since.
Jake, I worked on the Million Man March, and I was proud to do so. That's it.
All right, Congressman. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
If you see the look on his face when they leave, it's like, oh my God, what the fuck happened here? That's the Keith Ellison that people are going to remember from that interview. Just the look on the face at the end. And by the way, everything he said in that interview is a lie, because I believe the Million Man March occurred in, let's look it up. So the Million Man March was in, let me see here. So it was in 1995, and I believe that from the evidence I saw, and it includes an article he wrote, that Ellison wrote in 1989 for the Daily Minnesotan. His history with the Nation of Islam predates that for 6 years. Now, Keith Ellison was originally a Roman Catholic from Detroit. You can admire the fact that he he rose up, was able to get. I mean, it's not like he doesn't deserve some recognition for getting out of undue circumstances. He ended up moving to Minnesota, getting a law degree there, and moving up and finally getting elected to Congress. It would be admirable if he wasn't such a fucking liar, one of the biggest liars that there is. And by the way, people who say, well, he should be able to believe what. I'm not saying that he should. In fact, now he's a Sunni Muslim, so go ahead, believe in whatever you want to believe in whatever religion you want. That's not the issue here. The issue is stop being a liar. Stop lying about your association with Louis Farrakhan to the point where you won't even say his name. Okay, Louis Farrakhan, by the way, is tied with several other Democratic congressmen, including Danny Davis and Andre Carson, all from the Congressional Black Caucus. Maxine Waters, by the way, was in the past tied to Louis Farrakhan, and yet she gets up on stages and calls everybody else in the country racist. And that's what we're getting to here. You have Angela Rye, also Miss Judgmental. Let's see what she says here.
By Jackie Speer and Chuck Schumer, other Democrats, and now tonight, I don't know if you heard the breaking news, but she's going to be the first ever press secretary to get full-time Secret Service protection.
I heard it.
So Sarah Sanders is going to be. I mean, does that bother you that we're in this place? Do you feel any responsibility for that as a Democrat?
What bothers me, Aaron, is that people regularly take her comments out of context. She has clarified this. She's been abundantly clear about what she's calling for. She is asking for Trump administration officials to be held accountable for what they're doing. This isn't about some simple policy or political difference, Aaron. This is about people who are separating families, more than 2,300 children at this point, with no plan to reunite them. This is about policies like the Muslim ban that was just upheld at the Supreme Court today. Steve, I'm not done. I did not interrupt you. Let me finish. My point, I'm not done. My point is very simple. I demand that people stop requiring Congresswoman Waters to behave in one way while everybody else can do something else. Nancy Pelosi says, let's make America beautiful again. Whose America is she talking about? Steve, at the beginning of this program, said, this isn't America. This isn't what America are you talking about? Childish Gambino artfully told you what America is and what it looks like. Let's deal with the
Nobody gives a fuck what Childish Gambino thinks. Good for him. He made a lot of money from a good music video. It wasn't an amazing music video. And the song was like whatever. You get through the video now is, I mean, since then Kanye West has released a new album. So people have already forgotten about Childish Gambino. So what the hell does that have to do with anything here? Okay? And by the way, who gives Childish Gambino, like I said, with Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan has the same right to self-expression. He can say any crazy crap he wants in this country as long as it doesn't directly, threaten somebody, which he has in the past. If you're going to be totally honest, he has threatened people's lives directly in the 70s. Nation of Islam dissidents. But other than that, he's allowed to say whatever he wants. So can Childish Gambino. And so can other people. They can say, shut the fuck up, Maxine Waters. You're a bitch. Shut up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Maxine Waters, by the way, anytime somebody else says anything mildly critical of her, it's almost like, she melts like candle wax. It's ridiculous. And people have stopped. It's worn off. People are starting to say, screw you, Maxine Waters. We can say whatever the hell we want to.
Distinctions that we all see, because some of us see a very different America. The fact that Chuck Schumer called what a black woman said un-American is problematic, and this is the reason why Democrats have a hard time reuniting
just because of the color of her skin?
It has everything to do with the fact that this black woman is intimidating to some people who can't handle the truth. That's what it has. It has everything to do with that.
It has nothing to do. It has
so what are you
nothing
saying?
to do
You wouldn't have said it to a white person?
Watch what you wish for, Max. Donald Trump responded to that. Come on, Aaron. There's time and time again we can look at Donald Trump's tweets. He's intimidated by Jemele Hill. He's intimidated by Frederica Wilson. He's intimidated by Maxine Waters. Overwhelmingly and disproportionately so, it has everything to do with race. And that is why I find Chuck Schumer's comments deplorable and offensive. It's un-American. Why? Okay. It's un-American. Why? Because what America are you talking about? This is America of lynch mobs, too. Like, let's be very clear. And she didn't call for violence. Donald Trump did.
Steve.
Well, no. She called specifically to harass people. Why don't we bring up that video? Okay. I mean, it's a hot video now, but let's see if we can get through it.
Over immigration playing out on Capitol Hill. Stop wasting their time.
The debate and
in the House that has yet.
A lot of melty-faced people on Fox News, aren't there? What the fuck? These people look like they're, candle wax, just like Maxine Waters.
In U.S. custody at these Washington Post editorial.
Here we go. If it'll load.
Immigration playing out on Capitol Hill. The Post writing this, quote, Ms. Huckabee and Ms. Nielsen and Mr. Miller, too, should be allowed to eat dinner in peace. The editorial comes a day after California Democrat Maxine Waters called on her supporters to continue confronting White House.
This one talks like her mouth is melted.
House officials in public.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
President Obama's former senior advisor David Axelrod tweeted about the episode this, kind of amazed and appalled by the number of folks on left who applauded the expulsion of press secretary and her family from a restaurant. This, in the end, is a triumph for real Donald Trump. His vision of America, now we're divided by red plates and blue plates. Hashtag sad. Richard, I want to get your take on this first, because the Wall Street Journal has an editorial today talking about people on the left. Their relentless contempt might end up reelecting him.
Right, and I think it's a small group of people on the left. I mean, there's an interesting story about the lady who owned this particular restaurant, the Red Hen. In the article that she was interviewed by the Washington Post, she indicates that, she has LGBTQ folks that work at her restaurant.
This is Richard Payne, who's kind of a smart guy.
And she feels that the policies of the Trump administration are limiting, and thus she didn't want Sarah Huckabee Sanders to have dinner at her restaurant. Is that my particular opinion? No, I think you should be able to eat wherever you'd like to eat, period. And I don't think you should be discriminated for where you want to eat. But this speaks to the fact that there is a rift in this country between the left and the right. And a lot of people in this country feel as though the Trump administration.
There's also a rift between people who know how to wear glasses that don't distract from the rest of your face and people who don't know how to do that. So those glasses look fucking weird, man.
Has been intolerant, and they can't have this respect argument when they're not respecting others.
But it's the hideousness of we're going to be intolerant to fight what they say is intolerant.
No, I agree. I mean, listen.
And that's what. And again, call these individuals what you call them baskets of deplorables, because that's what helped.
One of my favorite quotes is from Martin Luther King, and he says, "Only darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." So if you have a problem with how the Trump administration is doing its policies, don't meet them with a clenched fist, meet them with an open hand, right? And that's my policy.
So this is a guy who's not even Nancy Pelosi. He's not even one of these melty-faced weirdos that are on Fox News. He does have a fucked up pair of glasses, though, so I don't know how credible he is. Not that mine are kind of fucked up too, but I'm just a guy in front of a bookshelf. The bookshelf has all the truth, not me. So, in any case, this guy is basically confirming the same idea that this woman is ineffective. She's basically making, Maxine Waters is probably one of the best things to happen to the Republican Party in a while. Because the woman is incoherent. She gets up, yells at people. You see her. The few times you do see her doing anything in Congress, it has to do with basically yelling at people. She's the picture of your elderly relative who is overly judgmental and loses their temper reflexively. There was the whole Laura Loomer video. I'm not gonna play it because there's not enough time. Maybe we'll try it a different time because I'm getting a bit tired and I want to go watch a movie or something. But yeah, that's it. This is, you have Angela Rye on CNN, who, by the way, just got dumped by Common, the rapper. So one SJW dumps another one. Angela Rye, you might remember, was the one who cried on camera when the TSA inspected her and rubbed her genitals, basically. A woman TSA agent inspected her, but she never complained to Barack Obama because at the time he was president. So she's crying on camera like some sort of fountain of tears. And she's like, oh, I can't believe that they're inspecting me. I mean, I'm a Hollywood woman and I have, my husband is a successful recording artist or boyfriend, whatever. Common. Although I, for the life of me, I can't remember a single big album with Common. He has all these, a lot of these are really, political albums that I think are not that. I mean, look, he's one of those Dave Chappelle type people. So Dave Chappelle is an amazing comedian. I think the people that surround him, some of these rappers are not, they're not the most interesting rappers in my opinion, except for the Wu-Tang Clan. But that's about it. I'm going to let you guys judge for yourselves. If you want to call me names or whatever and say, oh, you can't talk about Angela Rye because you're just some sort of honky in front. I mean, she's also half white. So what do you want from? I'm half white. She's half white. It happens to be the other half that I have is a little less dark because it's from the Middle East. So I mean, who the fuck is she? If I don't understand it. She went to a better school than me, private schools her entire life, and yet she's going to say, oh, you know what? Everybody in the country can shut the fuck up because I have this little card that I say, this is the everybody shut the fuck up but me card. That's Angela Rye. That's Jemele Hill. It's the same thing. Angela Rye is the Jemele Hill of CNN. She's actually, this is probably one of the reasons that their ratings are down. CNN ratings, I think today they were announcing, the latest one. They just snuffed this one, but let me see here. Abysmal ratings. There was a new one. I don't know why it's so. Let me see. Past month. Somebody said that they were worse. Oh, here we go. Western journalism. So, failing network loses to Food Network in latest ratings. Take that, Hallmark Channel. That could be one of the phrases being. So they're ahead of the Hallmark Channel. And if you've ever watched the Hallmark Channel, which few of you probably have, especially, I know I have one listener in India. So look up the Hallmark Channel and you'll be like, yeah, Western civilization has done much better things than this. So the difference between the three wasn't even close. Fox News Channel was tops among all cable channels with an average of just over 2 million. And I don't even like Fox News. I hate them. I think they suck. They're boring and they have weird people on and they look like plastic dolls that melt in the lamps. And, I was just talking about that. You guys, I hope you guys agree on that one. MSNBC was second with 1.49 million. So that's over 500,000 people less watching MSNBC. From there, you have to go a ways down the list before tripping across the letters CNN. So ESPN, I think ESPN is going to start losing its primetime ratings too soon because there's going to be nothing in the summer. USA Network and HGTV. So the Home and Gardening Channel is ahead of CNN. Then TBS, that's understandable. TBS actually, they are in the same network chain as CNN, but they probably have a few better programs. FX, Investigation, Discovery, History, and Discovery. And then the Food Network and A&E, which I'm surprised A&E isn't even higher. And that's where you'll find CNN an unlucky 13th in primetime viewership last week, beating out TLC and the Hallmark Channel, TLC, with their stupid baby documentaries, among the top 15 most watched cable networks. You know, they made fun of the Food Network being ahead. I think TLC is well, they did beat TLC, but still. Yeah, that's about it. And remember, they force people to actually watch CNN in airports, so it should probably be even lower. That's about it for today. Please like, subscribe, okay, and comment on the video below. You can find me at all of these places on this screen. You know, you see me. Forget about Facebook. I'm probably doing much less Facebook today. Twitter, my email, GAB.AI. I have to start getting back to that. Minds.com, Steemit, Hard News Network. This is one of the blogs that I write for. And of course, there's my personal blog down here. You can find me at all these places. And that's about it. So I'll see you guys later. Hopefully tomorrow we'll talk about the Supreme Court.